Hi, I'm Jen Smith, and this is Truth Behind the Trend. Every Thursday, we take the world's most viral self-help advice and we hold it up to some timeless truth. Not to cancel it, but to complete it, because sometimes the world gets it close, but it's missing the final part that actually transforms your life. So if you're into growth and goals and mindset, but you also want God at the center of it, well, then you're in the right place. People like Mel Robbins and Sarah Jakes Roberts talking about how to create a new version of yourself. They said things like, you don't have to be defined by your past. You can reinvent yourself, let go of who you've been, and decide who you want to become. And honestly, it sounds empowering. And yes, your past does not define you. But here's the truth, the world won't tell you. If you spend your life trying to reinvent yourself, you'll end up lost in every season. You'll shape shift with culture. You'll chase trends just to keep up, and you'll build a version of you for every phase of your life. And you'll never actually meet the real you underneath any of it. And worst of all, you'll end up exhausted, confused, and disconnected from your true identity, because you were never meant to build yourself from scratch. You were meant to discover who you already are, who God created you to be. You're not just creating yourself, you're becoming who God designed you to be. You know, the world's going to say you can reinvent yourself anytime. But what does God say? He says, I made you for a reason, not to guess your way through life, not to follow every trend, not to become someone new every few years just to feel worthy. I mean, Psalm 19:21 says, you can make many plans, but the Lord's purpose will prevail. And that means that you can try to redesign your life 100 different ways, but you will never feel fulfilled until you line up with the reason you were created in the first place. You don't need a new version of you. You need to uncover the real you, the one God already had in mind. So let's make this real. You ever know someone who didn't like the life that they created, so they moved to a new town or a new job or a new friend group, thinking a fresh start is going to fix everything and they can reinvent themselves, only to find out a few months later that they're the same version of themselves, just in a different zip code? Because you can change your location, but if you don't change your heart, nothing really changes. They need a transformation. And that doesn't come from moving or manifesting. That comes from connecting to the source, God, the one who created you with a purpose, for a purpose. Imagine you buy a brand new iPhone, but instead of calling and texting and using it for a GPS, you just use it as a paperweight. The phone's not broken. It's just not being used for something it was designed for. And that's what happens when we try to reinvent ourselves without asking God, what was I designed for in the first place? Picture a lump of clay. You shape it with your own hands, and it's going to be messy and lumpy and cracked, and if I make it, it's going to be awful. But then in comes a skilled potter, and it becomes something so beautiful. That's the difference between do-it-yourself self-help and God transformation. Self-help is control and God's way is surrender, and his results are way better than you can force. All right, let's zoom out and recap. The world says reinvent yourself, design a new version of who you want to be, hustle your way to a fresh start. But let's look at the truth behind that trend. You don't need to become someone new. You need to return to the one who knew you first. The world says redesign yourself. God says, let me reveal what I already created. The world says you're in control of your transformation, and God says you're in my hands, and that's the safest place to be. The world says reinvent yourself over and over, and God says you already have purpose, walk in it. So my final takeaway is that you don't have to keep becoming someone new. You just have to uncover who you really are. You're not here to hustle your way to identity. That's exhausting. You're here to be transformed by the one who gave it to you. That's the truth behind the trend. And I hope this hit you today. A new episode drops every Thursday. You can also catch daily wisdom and nuggets on my YouTube channel, Instagram, and TikTok every single day. Thank you so much for joining me.